know we hear so much about gut health these days, which is an important topic, but I think that we don't keep asking the question of why. Why are we having all of these gut issues? Why are we having overgrown bacteria and parasites and fungus and et cetera in our gut? And of course, while you can go in there and kill those off, why are they there in the first place? So that is more of a complex question, but I want to just dive in a few short minutes in really, I feel like the biggest way to derail that journey is to overlook this one thing. And so today I want to talk about how iron and copper play a role in all of this, because the fact of the matter is, whenever our iron and copper are not working for us, maybe we have too much iron, not enough copper. That's um, a really common scenario, especially in women, and how that can really play into our gut health, because you may not have ever put those two and two together, right? Why are we talking about iron and copper when we're talking about our gut? But they play a role in all of this. So iron is interesting when it comes to parasites, when it comes to bacteria. So if iron in our body is not innately bad at all, right? We need iron, for sure we need iron, but we don't need too much of it, and we don't need it to be in our tissues. We need it to be in our blood and to be working for us in this iron recycling system. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you didn't see my video from last week, which is titled Why Iron Deficiency Doesn't Exist, I would encourage you to go watch that, because that's going to give you a lot more information on that iron recycling system, and just to help you to be able to maybe get a fuller picture of what's going on underneath the surface and why we're having all of this iron overload, not iron deficiency. So if we don't have that iron recycling system working for us, then we're going to have iron buildup. And whenever we have iron buildup, it goes into the tissues, and we don't want it to settle in the tissues because it actually feeds infections. And one of those can be gut infections, coupled with the fact that if we don't have enough copper, which copper is very antibacterial, antiviral, it has a lot of those great benefits to it. If we don't have enough of that, then it can actually cause iron to hide away in our tissues because of that iron recycling system. So not only is copper really very much needed for for that antibacterial, antiviral effect that it has, is also needed to help iron work correctly. And remember, I said if it's not in that recycling system, it's going to be in excess. It's going to be stored away in the tissues. And so another interesting thing about copper is that it's needed to create ATP. Of course, there are other things that are needed, which ATP is energy, but there are other things that are needed in this whole cycle, like magnesium, like retinol, other things, of course, but those are some of the main ones when we think about vitamins and minerals, especially. And so if copper is needed to make ATP, and the inability to create this energy cycle is what triggers the body to sequester this iron, so that it doesn't rust in the blood, then of course it's going to be really, really important that we have enough copper for a lot of different reasons, because we're going to start getting this oxidative stress going on. We're going to start getting this oxidation happening, which can cause a ton of inflammation in the body and lead to a lot of different diseases. Another reason why iron is stored in our tissues is that the body actually tries to hide iron because it knows that pathogens feed on iron. Things like parasites, mycotoxins, bacteria, virus, fungus, all of these things, they love iron. It's like their food. I know that sounds like, ooh, but it's true. And so they mostly feed on iron stored in our ferritin, which is where iron gets stored in the blood. And so our body kind of tries to push it to the tissue so that that doesn't happen. But simply put, like iron feeds infection because of that inflammatory effect that it has. And so while not every single pathogen doesn't feed on iron, most of them do. And so the unbound iron still creates an opportunity for them to have a feast. And so it's really this vicious cycle. It's the iron overload because it's not in this great recycling system that makes us to where we can't produce enough energy, and it feeds pathogens, which overall just makes us sicker. And if you're thinking about specifically a healthy gut, Inflammation is not good. Parasites, virus, bacteria, all of these things you don't want in your gut. And so I hope that you can see how having balance in your iron, making sure that it's in that recycling system, making sure that you have enough copper coming in, which we just don't get enough from our regular, especially not a standard American diet. But even if you're eating whole foods, if you're not being really specific on adding extra things in to get more copper, or a really big thing in all of this is to make sure that if you feel like you're having some of these issues and you're just in this cycle of, I keep having these issues and maybe I'll do a gut protocol and it might get a little bit better, but then it kind of comes back. I would recommend that you work with someone in putting some of these pieces of the puzzle together. And, oftentimes people will just look at blood work, which there's so much information that you can find from just a simple blood work panel. But people often forget to do a hair test, because then you're going to be able to see, okay, specifically the iron, what is it doing in the blood and what is it doing in the tissues, or, our hair is a tissue. So it's really important to look at it from all angles. Look at the signs and symptoms. Are those lining up with what I'm seeing on the blood test and on the hair test? So that's what I really love to do in this whole case study approach. So if that sounds interesting to you, then go to my website and check out the Work With Me page. You can see a little bit more information there and different details on how we could work together on that. But it's an important piece of the puzzle, because so often we just feel like we're on this hunt for gut health, especially if we're talking just about gut health. It could definitely go to hormonal health, thyroid health. So many different areas of our health are impacted by this one sort of story that plays out between iron and retinol and copper. It's just a really important thing not to overlook. So I hope I've shed a little bit of light on this for you today. And if you have any questions, always feel free to post them in the comments below. You can always email me. That's also found in the description. And of course, I'm always on Instagram, so you can definitely come over there and send me a DM, and I would love to interact with you over there. All right, guys, I will see you on the next video.